It's Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for the Walking Dead universe. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at a pretty interesting theory about the connection or possible connection between the new group that were introduced on Season 7 of Fear the Walking Dead, which are PADRE, and either the Rick Grimes movies or one of the spin-offs, either Isle of the Dead with Negan and Maggie or the Daryl spin-off. Is the boat that we saw at the end of Season 7, Episode 16 of Fear the Walking Dead from PADRE going to end up in Europe or possibly somewhere close to a Civic Republic military outpost? So this is like 3 separate theories. We're going to dive into each one individually and break it down. Stay tuned, we'll be right back for more. Alright, as always, before we jump into this, smash that like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. With that said, let's waste no more time and dive right into it. So obviously, the group that were introduced in Season 6 and 7 of Fear the Walking Dead called PADRE were teased to become a bigger group in Season 8 coming up, and obviously, we know that Madison was with this group during the time that she was gone. But at the end of Season 7, Episode 16, we were left with a cliffhanger where both Morgan and Madison had their eyes covered and they were going towards this boat. Now, one thing I do want to say is there's definitely some similarities already between PADRE and CRM. One of these similarities being that they're both sort of huge organizations. Obviously, PADRE is not as big, or it doesn't appear so, but they're definitely organized. And it looks like there's a fair bit of secrecy to both of these groups. And the third similarity is PADRE is sort of kidnapping kids and taking them away from their parents. In their own words, they're saving them. In similar circumstances, we see the CRM taking people on by either having people trade them in or just kidnapping them. And these people are either used as test subjects or they're used as important members of the Civic Republic military organization. So there's definitely lots of similarities between them, which makes it more likely than not that we will see these two groups overlap in some way, shape, or form at some point. I think it's more likely that either PADRE don't know about CRM, but CRM know about them, or they've never crossed paths, which is definitely less likely. But regardless of whether they know each other or not, I think in this story, they're probably gonna overlap in some way, shape, or form, or their paths are gonna cross in some way. Now, there are really 3 separate ways where you could have the paths of these two groups cross. And each of these scenarios links to one of the Walking Dead properties, either the movie with Rick himself, which has obviously CRM at the center of it, or the spin-off with Daryl in Europe, or the spin-off in Manhattan, New York, with Maggie and Negan. So let's first go through the most likely, and then we're gonna dive into the Maggie and Negan one, which I think is a bit more of a stretch. But starting off with the Rick movie, I think it would definitely be a pretty interesting decision to connect the PADRE group with CRM in such a way that has Rick at the center of it. And here is how that might work. So imagine a situation where Madison and Morgan are being taken to PADRE. They are in the boat that's going to take them there. And then they hear something on the radio. Now, obviously, one thing that's very common with PADRE is that they have means of communicating with people far, far away. They send messages, they receive messages. That's a big part of their story. So imagine someone from CRM communicating with PADRE, either for the very first time or potentially as one of the times when these groups communicate, if they know about each other. And what you could do at that point is have a scenario where it's Rick on the other side of the radio, talking through to whoever's on the other side, PADRE representatives. Now, Madison doesn't know Rick, but Morgan does. And I don't think it would be too far-fetched to imagine that Morgan knows Rick's voice pretty well. By doing that, obviously Morgan would recognize Rick's voice, and that could open the doors to potentially connecting Fear the Walking Dead to the Walking Dead movies. Assuming that season 8 is going to be Fear's final season. If season 8 is not Fear's final season, this theory becomes less of a possibility because they just can't drag it out that long and have this go down at the very end. Like, if they're gonna do that, that means that PADRE is gonna be the main group for a few seasons, which could get boring for sure. Now, this is definitely one of the more interesting and intriguing directions that they could go with it. The other direction is related to Daryl. Now, we know Daryl is gonna end up in Europe in some way, shape, or form. One means of getting to Europe from the United States is a large boat. Who has a large boat? PADRE. So there's a possibility that somehow the PADRE group, including Madison and Morgan, stumble upon Daryl Dixon, who might be doing some scavenging on his own, or something like that. And obviously, that would trigger the reunion between Morgan and Daryl. But then, what we could have is a scenario where Daryl already knows that Rick might be alive. He's looking for clues or something like that. Morgan doesn't know what happened to Rick, so it'll be the first time he's hearing about this. And so what you could have is a situation where everything comes down to the group traveling via that boat to Europe. Potentially because PADRE knows some information about the Civic Republic. They might even know some things about Rick. Now, they don't need to go crazy with it, like a pretty big connection or reveal. Something where PADRE knows CRM or has heard about them. They know about Rick or have heard about him. And they have a clue that there could be something going on in Europe. Maybe at that point, Madison is gonna separate, go back, do her own thing. And then Morgan and Daryl are gonna head to Europe to find Rick. Obviously, this would mean that Morgan is gonna join Daryl, which hasn't been confirmed. And at this point, it's just speculation, or not even that, it's just a theory. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is, how is this gonna go down? Because PADRE, being as secretive as they are and as big as they are, they wouldn't necessarily give up information like that. And they would for sure not want to help out if there's nothing in it for them. So if this is the direction that they're going to go, they're also going to have to explain precisely why PADRE agrees to do this. Now, the third possibility, which I think is the less likely possibility, but it's definitely also a very interesting possibility, which is that this link between PADRE and CRM is going to link up to the Negan and Maggie spinoff in some way, shape, or form, which is going to be in Manhattan, New York. Now, you may ask, how is that going to work? Well, again, imagine a situation where the group from PADRE, the ones that came from Madison, are in the boat. Madison and Morgan are there, and they are able to communicate with either Negan or Maggie just by chance, or maybe they send out a stress signal or something like that. Obviously, Maggie and Negan wouldn't be in New York because that's a far distance. You can't communicate that distance, at least not with the equipment they probably have. So Maggie and Negan are probably going to be closer to the boat, wherever it is, but they will potentially be on their way to New York. But that's beside the point. The point is Negan or Maggie communicate on the radio. Again, Morgan is there. He knows them. He may not know their voice, but they might introduce themselves on the radio. So if that happens, that would put Morgan in a position where he could potentially first find out what he's been missing all along, the years that he's been gone, and it might actually give him some motivation to want to go to see what's going on. And if the CRM is involved, or they hear about the CRM, that's how you could potentially push the story forward. But that's pretty much it. That's everything I wanted to go through in this video. I'm definitely interested, though, to see what you think is the more plausible theory, or if you think none of them are possible and you think none of them are going to happen. Share your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this, smash that like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.